name is Cameron Gallagher, and today we're going to be checking out the Essential Sound panel, which is brand new in Adobe Premiere Pro 2017 in their April update. So what the Essential Sound panel essentially, pun intended, is, that was a terrible pun. So the Essential Sound is basically a new way for editors to work within a sound editing scape without being audio engineers. You know, it's one of those things where we're doing corporate videos or weddings or commercials, we don't always have the time and the budget to send out to an audio editor or hire an audio editor or even go into Adobe Audition and do a bunch of effects and different things, which is what we used to do before. You know, beforehand I would take a timeline, go to Audition, go in, do all the effects, send it back, and it's not bad and it's a great workflow, especially when you're doing really intense stuff. But when you're doing somewhat basic projects or things that have a quick turnaround time, you can't really spend the time doing that. So what the Essential Sound panel is trying to solve is helping editors who are not audio engineers but still need some of those basic audio features. It's kind of filling that void, but it's also leaving those high-end features for audio editors to go in and change. So let's jump into it. I have two examples. We're going to go over a corporate video I shot recently, as well as a wedding, kind of show you how they work in both scenarios, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then we can also go in and kind of see, like, you know, what you can do. All right, so let's check it out. All right, so I have this corporate video that I shot for a local chiropractor, and in this video, there is just her talking, and then there's music underneath. So pretty standard for, like, most just interview and music. So as we can see, I'm going to play it here, and you can kind of see how it's going to sound.
Because when you think it's alignment, you think way out of alignment. And
okay, so the music is way too loud, we can barely hear her voice, and it's just not good. You know, again, I don't have the greatest shotgun mic in the world. I am no audio engineer, so please take all this with a grain of salt. So one of the things I was a little bit nervous about is when I opened the Essential Sound panel, which if you don't have it, just go to Window, Essential Sound. I was a little bit nervous because I don't like the fact that it's not track-based. And at first I was like, oh man, it's not track-based. But then I realized something that makes this so much better. So the great thing about track-based is, of course, you can organize things by track. Like track 1 here is all of her speaking. Track 2 is music. Of course, if you had a ton of different sound effects or stuff like that, you could have those all back there. But the problem with track-based is, for instance, in a wedding, when you have tons of different sequences and maybe at the end you drop them all into one sequence, suddenly your audio effects that you had on the track is gone. You have to re-add those to each track and separate it out. Well, what I didn't realize is that the Essential Sound panel is a clip-based editor, but you can select multiple, amounts of clips, basically a whole track at once. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So this music is all in one track, but there's, 4 different clips here. So what I'm going to do is, and I could do this in a different sequence if I moved it, and of course it's going to stick with these clips, is I'm just going to drag and select all of them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, I'm going to click on music. So now it's going to bring me to its music panel. So we have presets, we could just do balanced background music, which I definitely recommend. There is this duration, although I'm not really sure how that works. And again, this is just auto matching, but we'll kind of see how this sounds.
I'm standing up straight. What are you talking about?
Okay, already way better. Way better. Yeah, so great. So it brought it down. It sounds a ton better already. And again, it just kind of helps balance everything out. Now, of course, we could always go in more depth and do things after, but for now, that's great. So let's now jump into her voice. So we're going to drag and select all of those. I'm going to go into dialogue because, of course, this is technically considered dialogue. And I found that I like the balanced female voice. So what this kind of does is it adds a little bit of, we auto-match loudness. There is some repair. Now this, we'll talk about this in a minute. But we have everything from loudness, repair, clarity, EQ, and enhanced speech. So let's kind of give this a listen and see how it sounds.
It's an easier way for people to understand it because when you think misalignment, you think way out of alignment.
Okay, not bad. It's a little more tinny-ish kind of sounding than I'd like it to. So this is what we'll do. I'll turn off repair. I found this is only in specific times that we really want this. I'm going to auto match. Or whoops, I'm going to make sure it's selected. I'm sorry. The dynamics, I'm going to bring this down just a touch. I'm going to do reanalyze, bring it down there. We're going to go to EQ. And I like to do, instead of subtle boost, I like vocal presence. That seems to be better. It seems to just bring up the overall better tone. When they try to do female and male, they seem to just be boosting like specific frequencies. So again, I can just do vocal presence. Enhanced speech, we'll kind of see if I like that or not, and we don't need any reverb for this. So now let's see how it sounds.
People understand it, because when you think misalignment, you think way out of alignment.
Okay, not bad. I think it needs a little more. Maybe let's actually try turning off EQ.
And I'm standing up straight. What are you talking about? But restriction.
Okay, I like the EQ off a little bit, but you can see how if you were editing this and you needed to get it out to a client really quickly, you could slap these in, just click on these and kind of see what you want. But at the same time, all of the effects and everything are still being applied that you can change later. So I think that's awesome. So again, this is a very simple, we can kind of see now what it sounds like.
When you think misalignment, you think way out of alignment.
And that is definitely something that I would, deliver to a client. Maybe it's not a totally finished product. Maybe I want to tweak it a little more, but it's something that's great to even just give you something to edit with. So now we're going to jump into a wedding. I'm going to kind of show you some of the applications over there and how it works well for that. All right, so right now I'm in a wedding here, and I have a part of a rehearsal dinner speech that there was like a really loud fan or something next to it, and you can tell the audio is just not great. And this is one of the things that we come across in weddings all the time. Audio is definitely not optimal. We have things like ACs in venues or, different noise just all around, and of course we don't have the greatest mics, and we're running through the DJ system. So this is kind of to show you more of the repairing and like what the Essential Sound Panel can do for especially a wedding, which is something that you obviously need a decent turnaround time, and you don't have the budget to hire an audio mixer, for something like this. So let's kind of go in. So I have this piece of audio here, and listen how bad this is.
Mr. Dunmoyer sat at a counter behind the open window of a little...
Okay, so first off, it's super quiet. There's that horrible hum. It's kind of at a distance. You can't really tell what she's saying. So let's go in, and we're just going to kind of do like everything. So we're going to auto match. I'm not going to reduce the noise because I'll explain something about this in a minute. Reduce rumble, de-hum. We're going to turn those up quite a bit. DS, we'll bring that down just a touch. We probably don't need a ton of that. And then scroll down, we'll do dynamics, add a little bit of clarity. EQ, we're going to do just, actually we'll do subtle female boost on this and see how it is. Maybe a little extreme, but we'll find out. Enhanced speech, female, and that should be good. So let's see how this sounds, and then we'll kind of tweak it a little bit.
Mr. Dunmoyer sat at a counter behind the...
Okay, million times better. So you just saw that. Now that's something that, as you can see over here in the effects, we have, a filter, de-hum or dynamic processing, graphic EQ, de-esser, vocal enhancer, all things that we would normally have to put in manually or go into the track editor. This is all automatically applied. And of course, I could do these to a bunch of speeches. So like in this scenario, in this wedding, there was a ton of different speeches that had almost the same problem because they were in the same spot. So you can just see what a massive difference that made. I'm going to turn all these off now, just so you guys can hear this again, because like I said, this is great for, I think the Essential Sound Panel is great for a lot of things, but I definitely think something like a wedding where I don't really have time to spend to dive in deep and audition or, bring it out to some DAW for like really high-end mixing like you might have on a film or a higher-end commercial. This is just incredible. So let's listen to it before again.
Yes, this was pre-cell phone days, but it doesn't really matter.
So hard to hear her, that horrible muffled sound, that nasty, like whatever it is. And here we go after.
The only phone at the beach. Yes, this was pre-cell phone days.
Nice. And what I'd probably do, I'd probably work a little more on this. Like let's try a little bit more of a vocal. Actually, no, I don't want vocal presence. Let's do boost male because it brings up the middle a little bit more. Dynamics. We might even boost the level after the fact.
And more important, he had charge of the only phone at the beach.
So that makes a big difference too. It's just easier to understand, which in a wedding scenario, that's pretty much what you want. You need something easier to understand. Now I'm going to show you my one gripe about the Essential Sound Panel right now, other than the fact that you can't edit the parameters after all the clips, is I'm not crazy about the noise reduction because I'll show you why. So when I click noise reductions, actually let's hear it before.
Mr. Dunmoyer was in charge of the lake.
Now when I put noise reduction on, and we're going to put it like way down, like 1.3. Listen to this.
The beach desk. Mr. Dunmoyer was in charge of the lake.
So it's good. It gets rid of the noise, but the problem is it gets a little bit too... I feel like you can't go low enough on this in some scenarios. So let's try 0.6.
Allow behind the beach desk. Mr. Dunmoyer was in charge of the lake.
So what I found that I do is I turn it on and I go into the adaptive noise reduction, and I like to just bring this reduced noise down by, and I like to drop these a little bit and click high quality mode. That seems to get me just a little bit better, but of course it's still quick. You know, it's still much faster.
Spent summers that Mr. Dunmoyer would allow behind the beach desk. Mr. Dunmoyer was in charge of the lake.
Now we can see it's still reducing the noise, but it's not as like tinny and gargly and sounds like it's just alien. So anyway, that's my real only gripe other than the editing. But otherwise, I think the Essential Sound Panel is something great that a lot of people can use. And like I said, I think it gets basic audio editing controls in the hands of editors, something that we need fast, you know, for fast turnarounds. And like I said, I think it's great for weddings. I think it's probably the best for weddings. Great for small corporate videos. And it's even good for like basic mixes on short films and stuff that then you can send over to a real audio engineer who can then, you know, dive in from there. And of course, if we wanted to, we could always clear audio type, and there's things like sound effects, which again, it has a lot of the same different things, and of course ambience, which those would be, you know, the same thing if you had like an ambient room tone, or if you had, you know, sound effects that you're putting underneath, which I do have a video about some try and film sound effects. Now, I did not use this on it, but I kind of wish I did now. I'd like to see how that goes. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'd like to tell you guys that coming soon, I'm going to have a Red Giant series. Red Giant has been super kind enough to send me several of their, well, it's their entire Colorista suite. So I'm going to kind of go over the color grading, the different tools inside of it. My attempt is to try to replace Lumetri in Premiere by using Colorista and all the Magic Bullet color effects from Red Giant. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please have a wonderful day, and have a good one.